he got a call from an agent who represented Whoopi Goldberg. She's going to meet Gene Roddenberry and, you know, Star Trek. And nobody knew she's like a big Star Trek nut, you know, nutty over Star Trek. And he said, I'm just going to ask you one question. You tell me why. Why do you want to be on the show while you're on the big screen? This is the small screen. She said, it's all Nichelle Nichols' fault. She said, well, see, when she first came on the screen, I was 9 years old. And she said, I thought she was the most beautiful thing that ever happened on television or anywhere else. And she was a black woman playing in the future, and I knew we had a future. And I remember when she came, I said, oh, I ran through the house, I screaming, hey, come quick, everybody. There's a black lady on television, and she ain't no maid. Jean sat there and said, like she said, and I knew that I could be anything that I wanted to be. So it's Nichelle's fault and yours.
Not until Lieutenant Uhura do we even appear in the future.
Right.
You know. And Jean says, so you want to do Star Trek? I said, yeah, you don't understand. This was a huge part of my life. This was a huge part of my life because as a kid who loved science fiction, it wasn't until Lieutenant Uhura did I realize that I was in the future.
That you were allowed in the future?
He said, what do you mean? I said, Gene, if you look at science fiction movies that predate Star Trek, there are no people of color anywhere. He was like, I don't think I knew that. I said, well, you know now.
He said, it's a Star Trek fan. I'm looking for a young man who's a Star Trek fan. I turn, and instead of fan, there's this face the world knows with this beautiful smile on it. And I remember thinking, whoever that fan is going to have to wait because Dr. Martin Luther King, my leader, is walking toward me, not 10 feet away, with a beautiful smile on his face. And then this man says, yes, Miss Nichols, I am that fan. I am your best fan, your greatest fan. And my family are your greatest fans. As a matter of fact, this is the only show on television that my wife, Coretta, and I will allow our little children to watch, to stay up and watch, because it's on past their bedtime. And I said, which was all that I was able to say, my mouth just opened and closed. He said, we admire you greatly, you know. And he said some more things, and the manner in which you've created this role has dignity and so forth. And he said, you know, and before he said, I said, Dr. King, thank you so much. And then I got the courage to say, and I really am going to miss my co-stars. And he said, what do you mean? Dead serious. What are you talking about? I said, well, I've had an off. He said, you cannot. And I said, well, I'm going to leave Star Trek because I'm going to say have an offer to star in I never got that far. I said, well, I'm leaving Star Trek. He said, you cannot. You cannot. I was taken aback, and I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. He said, don't you understand what this man has achieved, is achieving or something? And I thought, deja vu all over again. Just looked at him. He said, for the first time on television, we will be seen as we should be seen every day, as intelligent, quality, beautiful people who can sing, dance, but who can go into space, who can be lawyers, who can be teachers, who can be professors, who are in this day, and yet you don't see it on television until now. And he went on, so many of the things, perhaps some of the things he said, but I could say nothing. I just stood there, realizing every word that he was saying was the truth. And he said, if you leave, Nichelle, Gene Roddenberry has opened a door for the world to see us. If you leave, that door can be closed because, you see, your role is not a black role. And it's not a female role. He can fill it with anything, including an alien. And at that moment, the world tilted for me. Whatever happened come Monday morning, I went to Gene, and I'm not sure to this day if I knew what I was going to say. And I said, Gene, and I told him what happened. And I said, if you still want me to stay, I'll stay. I have to. And he opened his drawer, and he looked up at me and said, God bless Dr. Martin Luther King. Somebody knows where I'm coming from. And I said, that's what he said in my brain. And he took out my resignation, which was torn into 100 pieces, and handed me the pile. And we just stood there looking at each other.